Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the player ratings for Fulham 0, Everton 0. Disappointing game down at Craven Cottage. As I've already said in my instant match reaction. Terrible second half, but I would take a point all day long in a game like that. And I think last season we lose that game last season. Probably by about 2 or 3 goals. But let's get into it. Jordan Pickford in goal. Some really, really top saves, especially in the second half. Made a couple of really, really fantastic saves. Good presence all night. I think it's kicking a little bit. Did that thing a little bit where it all goes bit of a rush at head in the second half. Kicked a couple of balls out. Kicked a couple into the central middle of the park where give the ball straight away. But in terms of like saves and stuff, is some of his saves were absolutely fantastic and done exactly what he's supposed to do. And again, getting that consistency really important for him, especially not just for us but for him for the World Cup. Good display. I've given him an 8. Really good all-round display. I think a lot of people will have him as man of the match because he did make some big saves, especially the one early on from Willian, which obviously was a big moment in the game early on, because if you concede early and you concede sort of from one of the opposition's first attacks, then it gives you a different outlook on the game completely. So good performance from Jordan Pickford. As I said, I'd give him an 8. Seamus Coleman, I understand why he picked him, keeping the same team, and only the manager and obviously the scout coaching team will know what level Patterson was at. And obviously, maybe with the way Fulham plays, they get the ball wide, obviously, and get the fullbacks really high and try and overload you, get balls into the box for Mitrovic. He may have thought with the return, that might have just been a little bit too much for Patterson, and maybe thought needed a steady hand. And obviously, the plan would have always been give Nathan Patterson the last half an hour. But I thought Seamus... Not his fault necessarily, but I just thought he got caught for the pace going past him, and I think it was 2v1 a lot of the time. Anthony Gordon not really helping him out as much. I mean, there was times when he was, but and I don't get me wrong, I don't think things massively changed when Patterson came on, because obviously he's coming into a game cold. But I think Patterson, obviously with being younger, fitter, and with a bit more pace to him. I mean, fitter might be right, but can cover the ground quicker, could get out and maybe get to the play a little bit earlier. But also, there was times when Patterson jumped in. So I've given Seamus 6.5. As I said, ideally Nathan Patterson would start the game, but obviously coming back from injury, it's good that he got half an hour, but we'll talk about him in a bit. So I'll give Seamus Coleman 6.5. Thought Mykolenko defensive was fantastic today. Some of those crosses, he really did make sure a lot of those crosses didn't get in the box, blocked them at the source, and I think that's hugely important when you play any side. If the opposition are... Because once the ball goes into the box, if they win the first header, which a lot of the time they did, or they put pressure on you and don't allow you to head the ball away, which a lot of the time they did, it makes it really hard. And they did that a lot. Mitrovic is a danger. If he doesn't win the ball, he doesn't let someone else get a clear contact. So it was about stopping it at the source, and I thought Mykolenko did that really, really well. And I think that's what... I don't think Seamus Coleman or Nathan Patterson really got a grip with that. That was a big plus from that side. Yeah, a lot of the time it went out for a corner or a throw, or sometimes we'd get the goal kick, but it was hugely important that we at least stopped one side, and I thought Mykolenko shut that down really, really well. Again, going forward, okay, doesn't give us loads, and that's something that has to be addressed going forward. Whether it be him or somebody else, we have to have a left back that can get up and down the pitch, that can defend, and also can attack, like Mykolenko did last week. Or we change the person who plays in front of him, and we do it a little bit different. But I thought he was excellent, Mykolenko. I'll give him an 8. So well done to him. The two in the middle, Connor Cody, I've given him a 7.5. I think, he done well. There was, again, when you're playing against a big man, it's important one of you deal with them. And I think James Tarkowski dealt with Mitrovic a lot better than Connor Cody did. I think Mitrovic was pulling into the space between Connor Cody and Seamus Coleman. And that's when he got most of his joy. But Connor Cody defended well, blocks, doesn't panic on the ball either, which is really important. So done well to have given him 7.5. James Tarkowski, just that little bit more, I've given him an 8 because I think in the air, dealt with everything in the air. Blocks, should have probably scored actually in the first half. Had a great opportunity to score from a free kick, I think it was. But it headed it straight at the goalie. And I just thought, again, like last week, just did that little bit more because we needed the physical presence of him. I think Connor Cody, where he's great at defending, is just puts people off. Just make sure he gets his body in the way. I think James Tarkowski's a little bit of a different beast. He's a little bit bigger, deals with a lot more in the air. And I thought today he dealt with loads in the air because it was always going to be a handful. They were just pumping so many balls into the box. So I've given James Tarkowski an 8. Into midfield, Adrisagana Gay broke a lot up. Obviously we decided to take him off, but I thought sitting in front of the back four broke a lot up, and I thought it was noticeable actually when he went off that they started to get on the ball a little bit more and getting just more centrally. They seemed to have more, whereas earlier they were just getting crosses in. Listen, that's just me on the eye test. The numbers might be different, but I've give Garner a 7. I think, again, listen, there's times when he's in possession where he's not fantastic, but defensively, very, very sound. And I thought, again, today, consistent. And really, Mitrovic should have been sent off for standing on him. Onana had his moments today, but then again, I think a little bit of what happened against Newcastle, where once a little bit too much time on the ball at times. I thought his yellow card was, he just stood on his foot. I do think at times he's a little bit clumsy. He wants to get to the ball that so quickly that sometimes he forgets he's bigger than the opposition. The opposition just seem to fall over and they win free kicks from it. It doesn't happen loads. I just think it's something that he needs to maybe have a little look at and readdress. I think he just needs to pick the pace of the game up at times when he's on the ball. But quite solid. And again, he went back into that number 6 role. He did all right when Adrisagana Gay went off. So wasn't a terrible performance from him. I've given him a 6.5, but just never really got going for me in the game. And neither did Iwobi. Iwobi had a couple of moments, but really couldn't thread anything together at all through Iwobi, which is what we've been doing in the home games. But in the away games, it's been very much again like Newcastle game. Him having the ball, but not being able to thread anything between the players. And in midfield, we do massively lack at times that balance, that being able to go through the gears where other teams seem to have that balance. We did really struggle today to in the second half to complete 3 or 4 passes. It was really bad at times. The lack of stability in there. So I've given Iwobi a 6. Gray first half was a big threat. Put a great ball in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin for really what he should have knocked into the back of the net, really. Another couple of times cut inside. One he got a shot off, one he didn't. Bit of a threat, but the threat dried up second half. And again, when he's been relied on to be a defensive player, it's not there. It's just not there. So struggled again for me today, especially in that second half. He is what he is, isn't he? And you don't get a level of consistency, and when you do, it's maybe just not good enough for where Everton want to go. So again, I think we know what we need. We need one really top or near top wide player. I've give Gray 6, but Gordon today, flattered to deceive again. Thought he was really poor in possession. Think again, final ball poor, final choice poor. I thought he was lucky to stay on, to be honest, longer than Gray. He didn't really offer anything. He had one really good chance in the first half that he blazed over. Just hit the target. It makes such a difference. Seen last week what hitting the target does. Three goals last week. His goal himself that he got is because Michalenko hits the target. Last week he gets a tapping. If he hits the target there, it either goes in, bounces off the keeper, and might fall to someone. You've got to hit the target in those areas. Gray had a bit of a weak shot, but at least he's testing the goalkeeper. You want it to be better, but he was poor, Gordon, for me again today. Really, really poor. And that's where maybe we need a change in terms of only having one of those two playing. Especially in an away game. In an away game, I think maybe you have to be a little bit more of a team and get men behind the ball and then break like that. I think Gordon to me just early on the season, ironically, it was the away games that he was doing well in. But I mean, he did well last week at home. I'll give him that. But again today, don't know. He just couldn't find any kind of, any kind of sort of level. Very, very poor. I've given him a 5. He just has to find a level of consistency. He really does. And home games are not going to be like away games. You're obviously going to have to change the way you play. So I'll give him a 5. Dominic Calvert-Lewin started the game really brightly. On the front foot, pulled, done well to do the defender and pull the ball back. I think he really should have scored off the cross from Gray. But again, very isolated, and second half found himself just on his own. Got a couple of times offside on his own, and that's going to be harder for a player who's just come back as well. That's going to be a lot harder for a player who's just come back, having to do a lot more work on his own. I think last week he always had players around them and helped them join in, and obviously today he was just on his own the entire game. As I said, he got nowhere near the second half because we need players to get up with him, and those two wide players didn't, and then no one from midfield got up with him, and the whole team just felt stretched in the second half, and that allowed Fulham to dominate because we're in midfield and we're looking up, and the two wide men are miles away, and then Dom's even further ahead, and then we're getting picked off in midfield and we're turning the ball over a lot. So I've given Dom a 6, but he has to do better, and he has to get players closer to him. I think that's what the changes were for. Obviously, Garner came on. I thought he did all right, Garner. And in fact, he made one really key intervention in our box where he got his little toe poke on the ball, and it just took the ball away from Mitrovic. I think it was Mitrovic. And that was a really key moment for us when they done us on our right hand side, on their left hand side. So I've given Garner a 7 for that. Patterson, he did all right. He got out and he got some blocks in, but I thought 1-on-1, you could see he was off the pace because he got done a couple of times. Once they broke into the box, Willian still got all that pace, and he did do him a couple of times. I've given him a 6.5. It's great to have him back, and maybe that's why the manager was reluctant to get him on. It's always hard to put a player on cold, especially in a defensive position when the opposition are doing well and they've got a set pattern and they're running at you. And Willian was running at him, and if you haven't been in the game, for a while, it's it is difficult. So I've given him a 6.5. Dwight McNeil, I've given him a 6. Never really got into the game. Ball a couple of times on the left, but didn't really do too much with it. And Maupay really wasn't on the pitch long enough. So not our greatest performance in the world. But listen, we didn't get beat on a day where if we played like that, like Fulham at the home, I'd expect to get 3 points. I really would. So to grind a point out of it's not the worst result in the world today. And we go on to Leicester next week and hopefully get back to winning ways. Hopefully, if we can finish this section of obviously before the break unbeaten, that would be fantastic. So not the worst point in the world after not a great performance. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to check out my instant match reaction. Make sure to check out Baz's video once I get it, because he was at the match today. And we'll be back on Monday to do the final word over on Toffee TV Premiere. If you want to join us for that, we'll be live. The link is in the description and it'll be on the screen in a moment. See you later.